Our founder told me one time that back when he was growing Super 8, he said, we didn't really pay attention to what the other brands were doing because we were so busy doing our thing. I think that plays true today. We'll just continue to do our own thing. I think now more than ever, we need to be valuing our relationship with our current franchisees and strengthening that relationship. And we'll just continue to grow. We have expectations this year that are very high. We like where we're positioned in the market. We fit that mid-scale extended stay category. So we're in the right venue to where everybody wants to get in this category right now. And I feel like we're established and we'll continue to do our own thing.
Welcome to the Art of Franchise Marketing. Each episode takes a deep dive into the franchise space and explores how the biggest and best brands handle national branding, franchise development, employee recruitment, and localized marketing on a daily basis. This podcast is brought to you by Netsertive, a localized digital marketing partner for franchise networks. Netsertive's Madeline Park talked shop with franchise executives to discuss what's working, what's not, and answers the question, what else can you be doing to excel at the art of franchise marketing?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Art of Franchise Marketing. Today we have the first of its industry. We got the hotel industry. Eric from My Place Hotels is here to talk about the hotel franchising industry. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I didn't realize that it was the first hotel one, but it's
Yeah. Well, and you were on our executive roundtable the other day, and Red Boswell over at IFPG was shocked to see someone that's in the hotel industry franchising, because typically you guys are in your own ecosystem, your own bubble, because it is so unique. So I'm glad we're changing that. I'm glad we got you on board, and I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about. But before we get into that, tell me who Eric is. How'd you get into franchising? Where are you now? And what are your goals in your day-to-day?
Sure. My background is sales and finance. So it worked out really well in this category as far as franchising because, finance is a big part of it. So really need to have a strong financial background. My role here is to basically take and help franchisees from concept to reality, right? So taking, they have a vision of, hey, I want to do a hotel in a certain market. What is it going to take to do that? And how do I go from dirt to open? So whether that's working with the municipality, taking them through our steps as far as the franchise side of it, helping them with the bank side of it. Obviously the finance, the debt is a big deal. Helping them on the capital side. How do they go about raising the capital to make everything become reality? And then really working through the whole process as far as construction, management, whatever it takes to get that hotel open. And then it continues after that too. And that's really the franchise model, is the support after you open. And we really take pride in that part of it as far as our support system that we offer after the property is open.
I love the term dirt to open. So let's talk about, in terms of, the candidate and support, I think that there's a lot of pretty stereotypical what you're looking for in terms of a franchisee. They're good with people, they're coming from corporate, or they're a second career. What do you guys look like for, a quality candidate to run something of, your size and your brand?
Our franchisee pool is pretty diverse. We have guys that did construction in multifamily that have wanted to always get into hotels. We're a good fit for that. We have some attorneys that have joined us. They just form an LLC and say, hey, we want to do a couple hotels down in our local market.
Yeah.
And what we're starting to see lately is the bigger groups that, we're kind of sitting on the back burner waiting to see how we've done as we've built the brand. And now that we're starting to scale up, we've had those bigger groups come to us and say, hey, we want to do a development agreement, put something together to where we can develop 9 or 10 properties across the country. So it's a pretty diverse demographic as far as our actual franchisees.
And when it comes to those groups, is I think there's a lot of bigger franchises that oftentimes it's an investment group coming in. It's not a single individual. And often I get asked the question, well, where do I get those? I'm like, okay, well, first of all, you don't get them anywhere. So When you find that you have groups that are coming to you and are interested, is that a lot of data mining and cold calling on your side? Or is this something that's typically pre established relationships? Where do those groups come from for you guys?
I would say it's the evolution of the brand is where you start to see those bigger groups come in. So when we were initially starting this in 2012, we were the smaller groups, the one-offs, those kind of things. Now, as the brand has reached bigger scaling and mass as far as number of units, people start to see the hotels in other markets. And that's probably our big, I would say that's our biggest billboard, right? Every time we open a new property, people see that, they stay in it, or they had somebody else that stayed in it. So from the franchise level, that probably is the biggest catalyst for growth is
Right.
when we open more properties. That's why all brands always want to scale up as fast as possible because the more that you're out there, the better. The other thing that's worked really well is we've had these bigger groups come to us and say, hey, we want to do an acquisition on one that's already open, get used to the operating model, get used to us as a brand and how we operate, and then say, okay, we really like this model. Let's go ahead and do a development agreement to do how many ever more.
And how many units do you guys have now?
So currently we've awarded 114 franchises. We have 70 properties open in 29 states right now. So
Wow. And what does territory look like for you? Because I have no idea how that works in your industry. Because obviously, with services, it's, service territories. There's QSR that has no territory agreements. How does that work? Do you guys fall in the middle, or is it really divided out because of the service and kind of product too that you're providing?
we've done some territorial agreements. The one that we did was a big group out of Wichita. That one was kind of specific to markets that they know.
Sure.
So they're big hoteliers. They've done a lot of projects in certain cities. And so they said, hey, we want to pretty much lock down these three major metros. So we worked
Mm.
with them to secure that for those guys. We had another group out of Florida that said, hey, we want to do something in the Southeast. So we worked with them to where they pretty much have the development rights for a couple states down in the Southeast. So
Got it. And what is the radius for, like, how close will you put a hotel next to one another? Is it just dependent on like population? Because it's so interesting to me because it's not just, population or the metro that you're in, but because it's a lot of obviously travel. It's people coming that don't live there. So how close will you put one another, or does that not matter? How does that work?
yeah, I mean, it's similar in most with all hotels. We lay out an area protection. That area protection has twofold. One, it's designed to protect the franchisee from another My Place hotel being built too close to them. The second part is the area protection needs to be also brand focused. We need to make sure that not only are we protecting them, but we want to make sure that we can still grow in that market. So all area protections, we look at each one individually. In Aberdeen, South Dakota here, where it's a population of 26,000 people, you have Aberdeen, South Dakota. You're looking at something in Raleigh, North Carolina, you might have a 3-mile radius around your property. So
Okay.
it really is
Yeah.
really specific. We like to work with our franchisees though. It's a give and take on that. We want to make sure that everybody's in agreement on what we come up with.
Now, for your model, is this owner operator, or is this something that someone can be semi absentee, fully absentee? What do you guys prefer for your brand?
It's about 50-50. We have a few owner operators that were one-offs. I think only about a handful are one-off franchisees to where they owned a hotel. They wanted to build My Place right next to it. It worked out really well. They can operate. They can have efficiencies in operations, but typically most are third-party managed. So,
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I wish someone could third party manage my house, let alone hotels.
right.
Um, Now, for someone who's interested in this, and like I said, very rarely do we see franchising hotel execs in the network because I think it is just so much larger and so much different. So, what are the biggest obstacles you see in your industry, and what are some of the biggest benefits that you see as well?
I think the obstacles, what we see in the hotel industry are probably no different than what we see at home even. Right now, interest rates are by far the biggest obstacle. That really slowed things down, which Obviously, that's what it was designed to do, but it definitely slowed construction down. Construction costs have definitely affected everything. Between construction costs, interest rates, labor costs, pre-COVID versus today, labor costs are up significantly. Our model works well because we only need about 9 to 11 employees. But as far as the benefits, we've been in this business, even though we're somewhat of a new brand, we've been in the business for 50 years. We're the same group of people here in Aberdeen that did Super 8 hotels. So we've been doing this for 50 years. It's just that my place has only been around for about 10 years as far as on the franchise models. Benefit wise, in the hotel industry, especially, you literally hear those stories of people that started out in housekeeping and made their way up to GM and then maybe a regional manager, and they've just continued to grow throughout the industry. So it's been really rewarding to see that on all levels, whether it's on the franchise side here at corporate, where we have, you know, 50 people that work with us on the corporate side, uh, to even the hotel side. So the industry is very rewarding. And I think once people get in the hospitality industry, they're usually locked in.
Now, did COVID hit you guys very hard because travel was so locked down? Or did you like, how did that hit you guys? Because for me in home services, it was great. Everyone was at home and needed serviced. And then there's fitness that was like, that was the worst thing we could have gone through. So where did you guys fall on that scale?
Yeah, definitely, hotels and restaurant industry were hit pretty hard. Fortunately, we were in the extended stay segment with hospitality. So on the operations side, we continued to perform well above the industry averages. So
Mhm.
and that's why you see in today's world in the hospitality industry anyway, everybody's launching new brands, trying to get in the extended stay niche. Fortunately, we've been doing this for 10 years and we feel like we're pretty established. So we're okay with it, but it's definitely blown up as far as extended stay, partly due to how well performed during COVID. So,
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember the first time I walked into an extended stay hotel. One of my old companies had booked it, and I was like, I mean, I could live here. This is pretty nice.
that's the
So,
idea.
yeah. So, how about competition? Because you are in one of the highest competition sectors in all of the economy. How does that play out for you? Is it very brand specific? Is it price driven? Is it area driven? How do you guys tackle that?
I guess hotel brands are very diluted to some extent at this point. When you look at some of the big brands, they have 20, 30 brands under their main flag.
Yeah.
I think where our niche is, we just kind of stay in our lane and we just do our own thing.
Mhm.
And our founder told me one time that he said, and this was back when he was growing Super 8. He said, we didn't really pay attention to what the other brands were doing because we were so busy doing our things. And I think that plays true today. The big brands will continue to swallow up other brands. We're family owned. I don't expect that to happen for quite some time, but we'll just continue to do our own thing. I think now more than ever, we need to be valuing our relationship with our current franchisees and strengthening that relationship. Um, and we'll continue to grow. We have expectations this year that are very high. We like where we're positioned in the market. We fit that mid-scale extended stay category. So we're in the right venue to where everybody wants to get in this category right now.
Mhm.
And I feel like we're established and we'll continue to do our own thing. Pretty excited that we have our owners conference this year in Tucson. We have just opened one property there. We have another one that's going to open right about the time the owners conference is. So in September. So pretty excited to have our annual conference out there this year.
So I assume everyone stays at a My Place hotel during the convention.
The conventions are pretty big, so we can't quite fit everybody at the My Place. So usually we do a venue. It's at the Lowe's Botanican Resort there. So
Beautiful.
it'll be
And,
part of the hospitality background with us is we love to entertain, and I think that's why we do so well in hospitality.
yeah, I imagine you guys can throw quite the convention, quite the party. And then my last question, because we're coming up on time soon, but what's next for you guys? What's coming down the pike? Was it slow and steady? And then to the growth that you guys have done with Super 8, is it, hey, let's go slow and steady and then do some explosion of growth? Where do you see you guys going in terms of how it fits in with the economy and the political landscape and everything in between?
I think that Super 8 was hugely successful and grew really rapidly back in the late 70s, early 80s, partly due to a lot more land available, different environment, different dynamics, right? So I think for us, we expect continuous growth. It's going to take longer. Everything today in today's world just takes longer. Whether it's finding land is extremely difficult to find good sites right now. Working through the process with municipalities and getting everything approved. Used to be we could build them in 6 months. Now that takes quite a bit longer. So I think our expected growth, it will be steady because we've had groups come on that are going to do, we sold roughly 21 franchises over the last 18 months. So we have some good sized groups that are good sized developers and they'll keep this ball rolling. So I'm excited to see how we continue through this year, and especially next year will be really good.
I love that. And what is your advice for anybody in franchising that wants to get into the hotel industry but might be a little intimidated, exec side or candidate side? What would your biggest advice be in terms of jumping in?
Just jump in. I mean, it's you gotta live and learn a little bit, but whether it's on the franchise side, we have a lot of owners that haven't done this before. And I think that they really like coming on board with us because we really do take them and walk them through the whole process as far as here's what it takes to build a hotel, right? We've had plenty of groups that have never been in the hospitality business before. So our support system is by far one of the better ones on the market. And part of that is because we're also doing these ourselves. So we're building for our internal portfolio. And a lot of our franchisees like the fact that we have skin in the game. A lot of brands don't.
Sure.
Most brands don't. So, we're still the Rivet family is still one of the bigger franchisees in the chain. They will continue to do that. That's what they've always done. So we'll continue to build these internally. Our franchisees are outpacing our growth now, which is awesome. So, and some of that is done for proof of concept, right? We want to continue to improve the model and know everything it takes to do these. So we want to construct them, we want to manage them, we want to operate them. So we're going to continue to do that, and that will help give our franchisees confidence when they sign on board.
Well, I love it. And what a better way to end, just dive in. Listen, guys, if you guys want to connect with Eric, you can find him on LinkedIn or reach out to me and I'll connect you. And same thing with My Place Hotels. Eric, we look forward to watching you grow, and we're super excited to have you be the first in representing the hotel industry on the Art of Franchise Marketing.
Well, that's awesome opportunity, and I really appreciate everything, Madeline.
Thanks for listening to The Art of Franchise Marketing. This show is brought to you by Netsertive. We help franchise brands and multi-location businesses run localized digital marketing at scale. To learn more, visit netsertive.com.